You don't have to do this alone. The voice came from behind her, quiet and unexpected. Mallory Bennett, 26 years old, stopped mid-stroke, her mop frozen against the polished boardroom floor. She turned, startled to see a man standing in the doorway. Tall, dark suit, but the tie was loosened, sleeves rolled up. He looked tired, but kind. "I'm sorry?" she said, straightening up. He stepped inside, glancing around the massive room with its floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. "The floor, it's a lot for one person." He smiled, not the practiced corporate smile she'd seen on so many faces in this building. This one was real. "Mind if I help?" Mallory blinked. In 3 years of cleaning offices at Grayson Industries, no one had ever offered to help. Most people didn't even see her. I'm okay," she said carefully. "It's my job." "I know." He walked over to where an extra mop leaned against the wall. "It's almost midnight, and you look exhausted." She was. 2 shifts today, both at different buildings. Her feet ached, her back ached, but she couldn't afford to say no to the work, not with her brother's medical bills piling up. The man picked up the mop. "I'm Donovan Chase." "Mallory," she replied, still uncertain. And then he started mopping, actually mopping, in his expensive suit. They worked in silence at first. Mallory kept glancing at him, trying to figure out who he was. New hire, maybe? But something about him felt different. The way he moved through the space, the way his eyes lingered on things, the conference table, the company logo on the wall, like he was memorizing them. "So, how long have you worked here?" 3 years, night shift." He nodded thoughtfully. "That must be hard." Mallory shrugged. "It's work. I'm grateful for it." Do you like it?" The question surprised her. People didn't usually ask cleaners what they liked. "I like the quiet," she said honestly. "During the day, this place is chaos. At night, it's just peaceful." Donovan smiled again. "I never thought of it that way." They kept working. He wasn't very good at mopping. He missed spots, didn't wring out the mop properly. But he tried, and somehow that mattered more. "Can I ask you something?" Mallory said. "Of course." "Why are you here? At midnight? In a suit?" Donovan paused, leaning on the mop handle. I had a long meeting. Lost track of time. Was about to leave when I saw the light on in here. And I saw you, working alone." Something in his voice made her chest tighten. "You didn't have to stay," she said softly. "I know, but I wanted to." He met her eyes. "I wanted to." Over the next few weeks, it became a pattern. Mallory would arrive at 11, and Donovan would show up around midnight, always in a suit, always a little rumpled, always kind. They'd clean together, boardrooms, hallways, break rooms, and they'd talk. He asked about her life, really asked, about her younger brother, Ethan, who'd been in a car accident 2 years ago and needed ongoing physical therapy. About her dreams of going back to school someday, about the novel she'd been writing in stolen moments between shifts. And she slowly learned about him, too. He was 34, had just moved back to the city after years abroad. He talked about his work in careful, vague terms, but she could tell it weighed on him. He seemed lonely, like he was searching for something he'd lost. One night, as they sat on the floor of the boardroom sharing coffee from her thermos, Mallory said, "You know, you're the first person in this building who's ever talked to me like I'm a person." Donovan's expression shifted. "Mallory, I'm not saying that for pity," she added quickly. Thank you for seeing me. He reached out, his hand covering hers. You're impossible not to see. Her breath caught. His eyes were so steady, so sincere. Donovan, who are you? He smiled sadly. Just someone trying to remember what matters. The truth came on a Thursday. Mallory was in the executive wing, a floor she rarely cleaned, but they were short-staffed. She pushed her cart down the corridor, and then she saw it. A nameplate on a massive office door. Donovan Chase, Chief Executive Officer. Her heart stopped. The CEO. The man who'd been mopping floors with her. The man who'd listened to her talk about her brother's medical bills and her half-finished novel. The man she'd been falling for? He'd been the CEO the entire time. Mallory felt her face burn. Humiliation, confusion, anger, it all crashed over her at once. Had this been some kind of game to him? Some feel-good project? No. He stepped forward, his voice urgent. That's not why. Then why? He took a breath. Because when I'm with you, I'm not the CEO. I'm not the guy who has to make impossible decisions or fire people or pretend I have all the answers. His voice broke. I'm just Donovan. And I haven't felt like myself in years. Mallory stared at him, tears burning her eyes. I didn't lie about anything that mattered, he said quietly. How I feel about you, that's real. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to. I need time, she whispered. He nodded, pain flickering across his face. I understand. 3 weeks passed. Mallory didn't see him. She worked her shifts, went home, took care of Ethan, but she thought about Donovan constantly, about the way he'd looked at her, the way he'd listened. And then one night, there was a knock on her apartment door. It was him. I know you said you needed time, Donovan said, standing in the hallway, looking more vulnerable than she'd ever seen him. But I couldn't let you think this was just some game to me. Then what was it? Mallory asked, her voice trembling. It was the first time in 10 years I felt like a human being instead of a title. He stepped closer. You made me remember what kindness looks like, what it feels like to be seen. Mallory's heart twisted. I was so angry. You had every right to be. But I realized something, she said softly. You didn't have to help me. You didn't have to come back night after night. You chose to. Donovan's eyes glistened. I'd choose you every time. She reached for him, and he pulled her close, holding her like she was the only thing keeping him anchored. I don't care about the title, she whispered against his chest. I care about the man who picked up a mop. Months later, Mallory stood in that same boardroom, but this time she wasn't cleaning. She was presenting her novel, now published, to Donovan's leadership team as part of a new employee enrichment program he'd created. After the meeting, Donovan found her by the windows. You were amazing, he said, pride shining in his eyes. Mallory smiled. I had a good teacher, someone who taught me I didn't have to do things alone. He took her hand, lacing their fingers together. You know, I think I fell in love with you the first night when you said the building felt peaceful at night. Why? Because you see beauty where others see emptiness. He kissed her forehead. You taught me that the smallest acts of kindness can change everything. Mallory looked around the boardroom, the place where it all began. You were never really helping me mop, were you? No, Donovan said softly. You were helping me find my way back to myself. She leaned into him, and they stood there as the city lights flickered below, two people who'd found each other in the quiet spaces between the noise. Because sometimes the most extraordinary love stories begin with the simplest question: do you need help?